All right, and welcome to the show. This is the Weekly Jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez.
And Rohi Zachariah.
Arn Ransom, that guy.
All right, we have a special guest today, and our topic today, Rohi, I'm going to let you go ahead and take off.
It's drones and privacy.
Drones and privacy.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, and the thing about drones and privacy is that I think we've gotten accustomed to them now where, you see them fly everywhere, but we forget about the privacy part, right? And today, our guest here, Arn, if you don't mind, introduce yourself a bit, tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll start diving into our topic today, which is drones and privacy.
Lived in Madera for about 15 years. Recently moved to Chorus Gold. Been married 16 years, and just have an affinity for drones, if you will.
Okay, well, good. And with that, maybe we can start you can segue into what we have going today.
So I mean, Arn, he and I, we we converse quite often, and he came in the shop the other day, a bit concerned. I think is probably the best way to put Arn's concern, and it was about some drone footage, and it kind of brought up some eeriness because of it's the time of day because it's nighttime, and I think also just about some of the privacy concerns people have in general about either your neighbors or if you want to go to the government word, say government. But so it kind of sparked a conversation, and I thought it would be a good topic to bring him on and kind of just let the people see like, hey, what do you think?
Well, good. Well, and before we get started with some of the questions here and your experience with drones, let's put it out there. Drones have been used for what? Basically military, law enforcement, agriculture, private industry. But in accepting that, we've also accepted that, hey, drones can potentially be,
misused,
capturing.
It's abused.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, let's turn it over to Aaron, and then you can kind of give us your experience.
I've been around drones for a while, and just the hobby drones and the drones that specifically that I'd mentioned or that I've been encountering recently. I live in the Chorus Gold area, close to the 41, and there's been quite a bit of activity at night. One of the first drones I saw was after a fire, and I think it was there monitoring the fire line, even though it was contained. They were still waiting for it to spread. I can't confirm that it was a drone, but it was stationary and it was over the fire area pretty much the entire time, that entire night. And that's one thing that's also important is I don't see them during the day. That's because they're too high and they're too small, but I do see their light signature at night. And that's what really has me kind of concerned is because I saw that first one and I did some reading on it and I found that law enforcement, CAL FIRE, and also insurance companies use it for fire tracking and fire containment. And I was okay with that. That seemed logical and, safe, especially because the fire was coming towards my house before they contained it. But I saw them after that because after I saw it once, I kind of knew what to look for. Now, for a while, I thought there was a drone stationary outside my house, and I realized that it wasn't. It was actually Constellation Sirius, but because it kind of looked the same, sparkled. But I've seen other ones, and again, I can't necessarily prove, but I can't disprove. One of the things that causes me to think that they are drones is where they're located. I see them kind of over the 41, and I live in an area where they're kind of in between hills. So I see these lights in between the hills where a plane wouldn't fly, and if it were a helicopter, I would hear the rotors, but I don't. And I see them, again, I can't see them during the day because they're too small, but their light signatures give away at night. And I see them over the 41. So when you see those signs that say patrolled by, aircraft, that's probably what it is. Especially during the summer, as when I saw them the most, over the 41 area, over the Yosemite Lakes area. What they're doing, I don't know. What sparked this conversation was I caught one the other day on video, and it looked like it was using infrared floodlights on the Yosemite Parks Lake area. That really concerned me. As at 3 o'clock in the morning, what is a drone doing at 3 o'clock in the morning, hovering around my neighborhood? And I've read too that law enforcement uses it for safety reasons. Okay. But what are they doing? I have seen some, and this is really interesting because there's a CAL FIRE next to my house, and 41, there are a lot of accidents. and I have seen them at night after I've heard the sirens. So there's probably some sort of relationship. What it is, I don't know because I wasn't involved in the accident. But that's been my experience so far. And it's what does it do to 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, well, what am I doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? But what does it do to 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, no, and you know, I think the argument does come that is privacy now an abstract concept? Meaning, well, what is privacy nowadays, right? And I think for people, we're constantly being recorded, not only through doorbells, Ring cameras. You go to businesses. Most surveillance is illegal because it happens in public view.
Yeah.
Right. Technology outpaces regulation, and by the time they catch up to it, then we're like, okay, we've already accepted it. We've already captured a lot of it. So, in your case, when you see these things at night or this early in the morning, I mean, that raises awareness, right? I mean, you say like, what's going on? Give me some transparency, right?
That's exactly it. And knowing how advanced optics are, that thing can be, 1,000 yards away and still get a clear picture of whatever I'm doing. Because I can see them clearly from my deck. I mean, clearly. That's how I saw it the first one. I came out there and just blinking in the sky, which means they have a clear view of me. And that's just me being able to see them. I mean, I know that they can see me when I can't see them. Why? I mean, I'm not that interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the conversation starter because in the headlines now, I mean, especially with insurance companies now, without your permission, they just, for whatever reason that triggers it, that we're going to go take a picture of your roof, and if it doesn't comply, we drop your insurance policy. You know what I mean? So it's getting to the point of like, for one, I mean, California actually, and there are current laws that say you can't essentially do a peeping Tom type drone activity, but what gives the right for this insurance company to fly over my house without me asking for it, and then all of a sudden saying, hey, guess what? Your roof doesn't meet our standards, so therefore we're dropping your policy. Like, it seems just like, again, like you said, it's a total invasion of my privacy. You know what I mean? If they wanted to come inspect the inside of my house, it's not like they got a key and they can go walk in whenever they want. But somehow my roof, because it's in the space and from they can view from the air, it's fine.
Well, see, that brings up another good point. California, one of the biggest problems it has right now is fire insurance. I just had to re-up my insurance this year, and one of the things was fire insurance. And when I was talking to the insurance agent, he was telling me certain things that if an insurance investigator finds after the fact, they won't cover you. One is trees hanging over your roof. Well, depending on what angle you take a picture from in a drone, that branch could be over your roof or not over your roof. That could either void or, substantiate your policy. Not more than 3 months ago, a house across the valley, whatever, fully engulfed. All the Reddit responses were, good luck getting insured on that or getting your insurance company. And I didn't see that house for a while. They had a lot of foliage around that house. I'm like, I feel bad for these people. But yeah, that's just them.
Yeah.
I mean, never mind.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because, I think in our privacy and what's happening with, again, technology outpacing regulation, courts are slowly starting to expand their digital privacy deals, right? So, I mean, you'll hear them, but by the time you've heard them, we've accepted those norms already. We look at traffic lights, for example, and, I don't know if it was one of the Asian countries that had digital face recognition just about
China
everywhere,
does,
right?
yeah.
And I mean, so that the term privacy, when I hear that, I go like, wow, man. I mean, I get terms and conditions of privacy that go on for, pages at a time that you avoid reading because there's just so much in it. And again, those are the legal protections that these companies have, and they try to get you to abide by them because they know that you do have a right. It's just that right's slowly eroding because we're accepting the technology, we're accepting the footage, and having open space in your back home is no longer safe if what Aaron said is that you're going to have drones flying over and watching you and do what have you. Now, I bought my drone in Costco, right? And this was several years back, so I was excited. I opened it, I packaged it, and I just wanted to fly it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do when I try to fly it, I had to register my drone, or I had to register my name, because the actual drone would not lift unless you did this first. They wanted to know who you were and then you can only hit so much space, up in the air. You can't go up further than that because it's limited. It blocks you, unless you're not in a zone. But the funny thing is that as soon as I saw footage of what was up there, it's scary to see that I can see all my neighbors. I can see all of the certain neighborhood, and I could see, down in what they were doing. And that to me was scary. It was scary because as a neighbor, what am I doing flying my drone there? I just was excited to have a drone. I figured I can get some footage, but that footage was a little bit more than what I bargained for, right?
And to the point, there's a distinction between flying over my neighbor's house and just looking straight down. But in reality, like Arn said, I could be flying on the public road access, but because of the angle and the height, I have full view.
And the lens.
And the lens. And now they're like 4K and 8K. It's
on my camera, on my drone, I can turn the camera.
Yeah.
So I could be stationary and my drone could look like it's facing this way, but I can be pointed that direction.
Yeah.
And the privacy agreements, that brings up another thing. Because we never read them, we never know what's in them. One of the things would be if a drone flies up your house 3 times in a month and you don't complain, then it's okay for us to do it all the time. That could be in the agreement.
And again, a lot of these things, think about, Aaron, you bring a pretty good point, but we look at our lives, right? And we're pretty busy. We're caught up with work. We're caught up with everything. There's so much stuff being thrown at you every single day. If it's not a geopolitical war, if it's not the media, if it's not drones, if it's not our work, if it's not our everyday lives. And on top of that, here you go. By the way, here's the new privacy policy that I need you to agree to. And you say, well, shit, I'll put that aside. That's not the first thing that's at my priorities are making sure that I can eat. I can pay for my home. Yeah. And then, I'll worry about that later. But by not taking care of that then you're overwhelmed with all these terms and conditions that essentially, like you said, you may just be accepting something. Right. If I do it by right after the 4th time, then I gave you notice.
You tacitly agree by not doing this. You tacitly agree to this. Now you have a drone parked after, Yeah.
Yeah, and again, government, they've always balanced, public interest and safety is to say, these are the rules. Hey, you can't do that, but we're going to do it. Right. We're okay to do it, because we're looking at, we're going to save your, maybe your neighbor's a terrorist and we're by
it's
this
for the
constant monitoring, we have a public safety interest there, and again, that's where it gets difficult because it's so much without your knowledge, like wiretapping you can't do it without certain things, but there's not a lot of laws that prevents some law enforcement agents just popping up a drone and just parking in front of your house and let's watch what they're doing.
And it's amazing how that technology evolves, right? Because most of that technology that we're talking about, whether it be drones, privacy and wiretaps and all this GPS, all that's, it's driven by war, right? Driven by military trying to get an advantage over the other folks that they're fighting against to spy or what have you. And now with technology, you hear it on the news. Iran was using drones, to purposely hit these targets without, so drones are becoming, and which I think are going to become a very integral part of American society now, whether they're delivering boxes, they're fighting crime, they're, helping farmers, they're helping insurance, what have you. But I guess we have to accept them. It's just what laws do we create to be able to protect that term privacy, if any? Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned for farms, this drone that I inherited it from somebody else, and I wound up getting the memory disc, and most of the pictures on there were of farm or of fields. Now that's a viable use for these drones, especially around here, because there's so much acreage, you can't really monitor it all the time. That's great, but that's where the drone should stay. And you find it used to be. Like when I first got into the drone stuff, that was like, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago now. It was like, it wasn't really popular. It was very little like commercial manufacturers, and it sucked. It was, to say the least, it was just not that great. But now it's so accessible. Yeah. And they're so smart, like the DJIs, in the sense of you can set the remote, walk away. That's great in the consumer, but then it just, again, that it's not a lot of skill required. And then, like you said, the average person buys it. All right, I'll put some random name and email, whatever, and then all of a sudden I have this device, and they're talking about like
it hasn't happened yet, and we're not encouraging that. But at what point does somebody weaponize that in the States? And then what does that look like? I mean, it's for my relation, it's like going back to like guns, right? Like guns is on our freedom. We want everybody to have a gun, and then all of a sudden somebody uses it, in the wrong way, and it's like nobody should have guns, and there should be all these like registrations and and things to prevent access to it. So it's finding that balance of, you don't want to stifle technology. We don't, like you said, there's so many good uses for it, but how do you put a proper balance on who can use it and when you can use it and how you can use it without just saying like no, because I mean the delivery stuff right now is huge. Like talking to my UPS guy, he's talking about like UPS is like, I think already in the testing phase of like having the drone on the back of the truck and on the small packages as he's driving down the road.
I like it.
It's dropping your packages, and Walmart obviously is already looking at a lot of that.
Are we seeing that? I mean, I remember
We're
that
not,
technology.
because we're not, Madera's not used to be.
But is it being implemented anywhere? I mean, that's a good question that I'd like to know. I remember seeing videos that I don't know if it was Amazon or some other big company was delivering
Walmart
the drone.
Yeah,
right?
Walmart's
there you
doing
go.
it. Yeah.
And but I was saying, I wonder when that will happen. And this was maybe 5 years ago when I would see these videos But that's interesting. I don't know if that's already being.
Well, the issue again is it goes back to regulation. It's like the self-driving cars. Like most cities have forbidden it because of safety, but the cities that say, hey, come allow it, their self-driving cars being tested on their roads constantly. So it's almost like you want Madera to say, hey, yeah, I'm okay. Come be a test bed here. Come fly your drones, but then be ready, for the fallout. When the drones actually start falling out of the sky and crashing and doing things you don't want them to,
See, one of the things, and I just had this thought talking about the utilitarian purposes of the drones for agriculture, for fire abatement stuff. I can also see how, especially with fires, how they could actually kind of be a problem. Drone crashes, possibly start a fire.
Yeah.
Gosh, I was running with that, and I saw a drone crashing and starting to fire and smoke at the very doing something. I totally lost my train of thought. But about the utilitarian, but at one point, all it takes is one person.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, all three of us would have drones that we'd have to register and pay all these fees for if we wanted to use it. And the minute we use it unannounced, we become criminals. And because they do blast a signal every time they take off, bam, they know exactly where we are.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, but the most I've used my drone for so far is to just take pictures of some areas that people wanted me to, just mapping some stuff. That was it. I flown it around, never raced it.
Yeah. But I mean, and to see where the issue is going back to our last guest, from the jails. I mean, we were talking about this topic, and they were saying how like jails, like the prisons, are having huge issues because they got an open yard. Somebody attaches the package, whether it be drugs or cell phones, just drop. I mean, they're essentially being the Walmart right now of delivery service. They got it down perfect, But how like they don't, like the jails or in the prisons are trying to get legislation to give them basically like tools. Like they want things to be able to shoot the drones out of the sky, like jam them, and they can't get any traction there, So they're having a huge problem with these illegal deliveries that are going on.
And here's the thing, right? So technology, in many ways, the intention originally is to do good, right? I mean, obviously, you would think, right, that when drones were developed, you said agriculture, right?
Yeah.
You bring up national security.
Sprayers and stuff.
But the intent, I guess the intent originally, it goes back to like, well, what is it? Why do you need such the video, and why do you need this eye in the sky, so to speak, right? Well, again, it's insecurities that we have as humans, right? But even in military, that's kind of what it comes down to. But then you find good purposes like agriculture. You find other purposes that drones can certainly be utilized.
Yeah.
And essentially, it takes just a couple of things that take place, like what's happening here at these correction facilities. All of a sudden, you're gonna add regulations that really blanket a lot of things that possibly don't involve me. Why am I being penalized for that? And therefore, I won't be able to fly that drone, or that privacy regulation affects me in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. You're trying to cover policy for a few,
Yeah.
but it affects everybody.
And,
right?
and the new policy they're trying to implement now is if it gets enacted is even far worse than what we're talking about, because and it has nothing to do with safety. It all has to do with control of the industry, because they know that basically if you leave this untamed, then of course in Walmart, everybody's going to have drone delivery technology, but that's they want competitiveness. So what they say is, well, wait a minute. Before you can have your drone and have it take off, it's got to get FAA approval and it's got to send these messages. And it gets to a point where like ours can't do that. I can't afford a drone to go to have all this technology, and I just want to take a picture of my backyard. You know what I mean? Or like so they're really trying to right now implement a lot of law that makes it to where like you have to have a lot of money and a lot of know-how to even be able to operate in the near future. And again, it has nothing to do with public safety. It just has to do with, well, we have it, we figured it out, we're telling you what to make the law because we actually have that technology, and then you enact it, and hey, guess what? We're the only guys that can do it now, so we get all the money.
Yeah.
And that is the guys in the drone community, they're the ones trying to scream as loud as they can for the public to, because again, this is not something at CNN and no one's covering this, but it's
being covered here.
It's being covered here.
Well, that brings a really good point, is that when you really think about it, the drone community is really small.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, there'd be drones buzzing my house all the time. I mean, if all my neighbors had them, I mean, like they do roosters, which I hear all the time, there'd be drones everywhere.
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's only maybe one of the neighbors who has one, and they buzz my house. I'm the only other person. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to fly mine around my neighborhood, because, well, privacy, and every my neighbors own guns. And I don't think any of them would have any sort of reservations about
And you are allowed to shoot it down, by the way. If somebody is flying a drone over my property, I can shoot it down. Well, not in the city limits, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Out there,
you could pop a shotgun and shoot that thing down.
Yeah.
It's already been, so.
Interesting. And I don't know. I mean, I guess the more that I think about how they operate and the airspace that they take, again, that lens can view so much.
Yeah.
And if you really wanted to narrow it down, I mean, if you have a very fine resolution camera, you can. I mean,
that's what started all this, because there I'm 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting out on my patio, on my deck, which where the house is, the way it's located, the way that the landscaping is, I can't see my neighbors. So in my mind, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and there's a drone looking right at me. In my mind, because if I can see it, I know it can see me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, because I know it. I mean, just the optics on my little DJI are beautiful.
Yeah,
and that's just a tiny little commercial one. I can't imagine one that's specifically made for surveillance.
Yes.
It's already counting the fillings in my teeth.
Yeah. I think just the thought of us thinking about invasion of privacy, it really gets us, right? Even though a lot of the times we've already given that up.
Yeah.
We're walking through the public streets, we're driving, and we don't even realize it. I'd be surprised a couple of times first times that I went through San Francisco, and I would get a picture of me driving, passing through the fast track, and it said, hey, you owe us this much money. And I go, how the hell did you get this? And was that me? Is that? And you're looking, I mean, again, these are for purposes of protecting that lane, right?
Sure.
But and the collecting a fee if you invade that, if you don't have the right to drive on that according to the right? So you have to pay a fee or a monthly subscription, what have you, to get through that fast track. But if you go through it and one of those high resolution cameras catches you, then they're going to send you a bill. Say, hey, here's what you owe me.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what's out there, even when you go to airports. I mean, I'm very naive when I walk in there, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm in an airport, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But surrounding me is nothing but, cameras. You see this in casinos, you see this everywhere. So we've accepted it. But when it comes to our home,
well, see, that in my mind, that also brings up another thing is, okay, you're in your own home, you're doing your own thing. Now, say you are engaged in some sort of criminal activity, and a drone sees you, right? And they use that as a reason to enact legislation that allows drones to videotape, because look, hey, we're fighting crime this way. We're being proactive. We did this before this crime was even started, so we're going to do this all the time now. I mean, one of the reasons why we moved to the court school was for privacy. Seriously, our own property, our own land. Not.
Yeah.
The eye in the sky peeping in my window all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was I mean, a lot of people that do want to get out of the urban, the dense areas, they go out and they find these rural areas, you know, Coarse Gold, Oakhurst, Bass Lake. I mean, I drove out there and I tell you what, and I go, man, this is not bad. I mean, this is where you would want to come and live if you want to get away from the rat race that you see typically in like cities and very dense cities as well.
Yeah, and the stuff we're talking about now, I mean, the stuff that's around the corner that's already getting in the government hands can already see through your walls. Like,
Right.
You know, I mean, like that, using your Wi-Fi signals as basically interior radar. And again, you talk about there's no legislation yet that stops them. Now they can actually just sit outside your house and see your entire house, see you walking around your house, see
And
what
you know
you're
what's
doing.
funny? Like I told you, technology outpaces.
No, as I'm
regulation.
saying,
So
like
none
I
of
know
us
it's not in
even-
the hands of my local law enforcement now because it's still at a military level, but that all trickles down at some point, and because of the need for it. But again, without the right things in place, their usage becomes, well, I'm not really invading their privacy. I'm just sitting here in my car on a public road, just happens to be able, I can penetrate the wall and I can see
There you
Arden
go,
walking
really
around the
putting that
backyard.
stuff in people's heads now. Now we got to think about another privacy issue and concern, right?
Well, yeah, you gotta start walking around with like lead. You know, you gotta put your lead all on your walls, and you know, do all kinds of stuff to block the
Well,
signals.
it's
and-
interesting you say that because this morning before I left, we were having problems with some connectivity in one of our devices, and I was looking at our we have T-Mobile because out there the internet's almost impossible to get for a decent price, and pretty much everyone there has T-Mobile, and I can see the T-Mobile. That's one of the reasons why I know they're drones, because I've seen shit between me. Oh, excuse me, language. Between me and the T-Mobile tower, so I know that's not a helicopter. Anyway, it showed 25 devices hooked up on Wi-Fi in my house, and I'm like, what? And my wife's like, well, we also have because we have a solar backup system that's connected to Wi-Fi. The cameras are hooked on Wi-Fi. The Rokus are hooked on Wi-Fi. Oh, just pumping out signals constantly. Now you take a drone that can read that stuff, you're done.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's funny how you say that, but so Starlink, is that not something that's offered in that area? I mean, because of the
It is, but it was one of the actually for some of the people who live further up who are more off the grid, they use that. But there's also another service up there. I'm not going to give the name. I'm not going to be commercial. That they offer much better service for a lot less price.
Got it.
And Starlink too. I've seen. In fact, just the other night, they were doing not the big long chain where it's like 10 or 12 of them, but it was a single one with like a drip, and one of them was turning its reflectors. And it's such a neat thing to see because all of a sudden everything's bright, and then it goes, I'm like, what the hell was that? And then here's another one. And I know Elon Musk and I are going to blast this area real quick. just turn his reflectors on.
That's awesome. You know, my son got into stargazing at night, and you know, there'd be times that I go out there and join him, right? And I sit there with him. He'd just lay on his back and he'd be watching. You know, I mean, it took a teacher to tell me, hey, stars don't move.
Right.
Those aren't stars.
Yeah.
So what is that? Because that looks like a star moving right through. Well,
Here, I have
that's got
this.
to be a satellite.
Yeah.
Or that's got to be something else. But it's not a star. Stars don't move. And I go, okay, they're stationary, or what? I mean, but I mean, and he saw that. He saw this chain of what I thought were again stars, right? But
Yeah, looks like a train.
That's Starlink right now.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
And there's one of their chains is right above Alaska right now. One of their chains. And I saw one of those when I was hiking. That
It's eerie, right? I mean,
well, it's impressive and it's eerie because you see it and they turn the reflectors, and all of a sudden it lights up the entire sky because it's reflecting the sunlight directly onto you. It's like 15 long. It's going almost from horizon to horizon, and then you realize I'm just a little person.
Yeah.
I mean, when you realize that there are like almost 10,000 Starlinks, and now Amazon apparently they just bought a Global Star to compete with Starlinks.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, they like just bought. They sent like $11 billion to buy it because they didn't want Elon Musk to get. Bezos was like, I got to get part of this market too.
I'm still just interested how they do that with a flat Earth.
Right.
I know. I think it just goes around the rim. Yeah,
Has
it's the rim because there's a curve around the rim. That's how they get that curve look.
We have to bring that topic at some point.
Oh,
because
with
I
Arn,
think that,
sure.
that would be very
sure he's got some
interesting. There's a lot of hype, and there's
Yeah.
a growing community in the flat Earth, and I'd like to know, like, you know, hey, well, convince me because
Yeah,
you're
where we
starting to sound convincing. I just want to
Yeah,
see how
where we
you
at?
come up with these theories, right? I want to know how or what you've seen, and it'd be surprised. I mean, I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I don't know. At this point, based on what I'm hearing, I'm going to say, okay, I'm open. I'm open.
Did you ever see? There's a movie called The Incredible Invasion of Planet Earth, and they made a 3D version of it. But what happens is the whole town gets put in a big bubble, and you can't leave the town. And you can drive up to the bubble, and you see reflections. It's kind of So that's kind of like Starlink. That's the flat Earth that we're all just
Truman
in a,
Show type of deal.
It was right.
Remember that Jim Carrey movie?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
What?
Truman Show.
The
Yeah,
Truman
kind
Show?
of like just like that, except these people weren't actors; they were actually trapped in the town.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Simpsons did it first. They had that.
Yeah.
You know. It's
That was the best.
So as we start getting into the weeds of,
Yeah.
of drones and privacy, I mean, what do you think here in our Central Valley? I mean, do you think it's more prominent here than it is in areas like LA, San Francisco? What do you think? Why, is it because of the open space, or what are your thoughts there?
I'm going to say one of the things is you can say that. I mean, because I lived in Orange County for a lot of my life, and I'm going to say that really the Central Valley is just kind of an unincorporated part of California. And that law enforcement, other people, they can do stuff and test stuff out here without a whole lot of people knowing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just one fool on a porch at 3 o'clock in the morning, as opposed to like Orange County, where you have 30,000 fools at 3 o'clock in the morning staring up at the night sky. But see, there though, you had the advantage of light pollution. You can't see pretty much night sky at all, so you can fly whatever you wanted up there. But you also have the disadvantage of all the air traffic from Orange County and airport and LA and all these other things. So you have all that fun stuff plus the military air traffic. I mean, you could just get lost up there. I mean, you wouldn't even notice it. I mean, somebody look like there. Just another, and you probably even the audio of the propeller, people wouldn't even notice it, and the noise too would be just drowned out. Because he buzzed me a couple of times with his drone, and you don't until it's right on top of you, you don't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in Orange County, you could park one right over the 405 freeway and stare in somebody's yard, and you wouldn't even notice it.
Wow.
You wouldn't even see it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and you know, nowadays, I mean, especially my little drone, it's a DJI, yeah. You know what? It did a pretty good job. I mean, this is probably 7 years old, but I got some amazing footage of when I went to, where was I at? Several trips that I took, the sea, right? I was out at the ocean, and I made sure I took some really good footage. 4th of July, I remember putting it up there. I just wanted to see, hey, where are we getting all these fireworks from, right? I could see, hey, you would think that a lot of that would come from the east side of Madeira. You'd be surprised how much of it is on the west side of Madeira.
Yeah.
Especially around your house.
I know. My area is a war zone, yeah.
I didn't want to turn that into our chief, but Jiminy Christmas, man. There's a lot of stuff going out there. But, I mean, they have a purpose. They do. And I think we can all agree, like you said. I mean, I like what you said about farmers because you did have a drone that had some footage in there, right? And it was mainly, you know, maybe
It was all just agriculture, yeah.
Agriculture, maybe trying to look for disease and, you know, infestation with some insect or something. But, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's just when it goes outside of that, then should we be concerned?
I think it's kind of in human nature for some people to just try to take advantage of something whenever they can. And if somebody can exploit something, they're going to do it until they can't anymore. And it's just kind of the way things are. I mean, that's why there are loopholes. Until somebody closes the loophole.
Exactly.
My fear is, one, people spying on me, and two, because someone doing stupid, losing my right to use it.
Yeah.
Because just like with guns.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends the other day, Wyatt, and how I wasn't always an honest person you see sitting before you today, and my lifestyle was a little, you know, aside from the law, and there was an anxiety that came with that because I was doing stuff that was criminal. Well, now that I'm a gun owner, lawful gun owner, I still feel like I'm a criminal sometimes because of the way the laws are written in this state. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I don't want to feel it with my drone.
Yeah, and you're not alone there. I think, you know, Roy and I have had this conversation when it comes to holding your CCW. Now, you hold it for a reason. You pay to get it legally permitted, but yet you're always thinking, well, shit, if I fire it, I could be a criminal. I've gone through all the right steps to defend myself, but using it could potentially criminalize you, right? So now, I mean, it's really hard, and I get it. I mean, you want to protect yourself, protect your family, but at the same time, there's laws in California that you beware,
Right.
because the moment you use that firearm,
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah, but but going back to, if I have a neighbor that is maybe doing like illegal activity, or I feel is doing illegal activity, and I can't get support of law enforcement, like a lot of times it requires that evidence, like, so there is some potential good use to be spying on your neighbors. I mean, I hate to say, I think the neighbors spy on each other and all the time because of that concern, but it's like you guys say, it's wondering where does that line cross? Where am I going too far? I remember I had to have the conversation, about, because my store has cameras that face the street, and we did that because there's always, accidents and stuff. And one of the features it has is be able to track license plates. And I was like, hey, what are the current laws? Like, am I going to get in trouble if I start tracking license plates that go by? Is that a violation of privacy? No, it's public space. You can do that. I'm not a company that's doing this for a service. You know what I mean? So you get into a lot of those things where do the lines blur of, I'm going to write down every time Aaron leaves his house and every time he comes back and every car he drives, and
That brings that, in my mind, it's like, how much spying do you have to do before you can, or not spying, but how much,
reconnaissance.
or we'll use that word, do you have to engage in before you come up with one criminal activity?
Mm-hmm.
How much innocence do you have to experience before, like, oh, there's one person? The whole idea, how many innocent people do you kill before you get to one guilty person? How many guilty people do you kill before that whole, where do you?
Well, and
Just
again,
stop spying on me at 3 o'clock in the morning.
closing remark. I mean, like with your spot especially, because you said fire concern. Like, what if I have a neighbor that does have a tree over their roof and nothing's being done about it? I want to fly a drone to take a picture to send it to law enforcement, but law enforcement goes like, hey, Aaron, by the way, that photo, you kind of broke the law sending it to us because you took a photo of your neighbor's house
without consent.
Without
I don't know if that's
yeah,
consent.
but you know what I'm saying?
Nowadays,
Like you get into that. I can do that with any other crime. Like, if I see Aaron doing something illegal, I call the cops and I tell them. But if I do it with a drone, it's like, well, wait a minute. The thing you used to report the crime, that was a violation of potential privacy.
That brings up a really good point, because
I'm closing out with that.
where I live, during time of year, there's you can burn, but you have to burn in a very specific situation and in a specific way. I know some of my neighbors haven't been, and that bothers me for 2 reasons. One, if they screw up, my house could burn down.
Yes.
But that's pretty much the only reason. I don't care if they burn their house down. But if I were to take a picture of them with my drone, I'd be invading their privacy. Who do I call? How do I tell? What do I do with this situation?
Yeah.
Because when I saw them doing it, like,
Yeah.
they were doing it all wrong.
Yeah. It's prescribed burning, right? And you have to have a certain way of doing that. Mm-hmm. No, I can see, and as we close out, I guess the question that we can ponder on is, drones didn't really erase privacy. They exposed how fragile and undefined our privacy laws are, right? And that's probably the question: are they undefined? Do we have regulation that's going to protect the citizen here in California from drones if you encounter some footage that you may be exposed to something that could potentially be dismissed in a court of law? Well, I can see him do I can see him committing that murder. But, again, that's funny, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, our laws here sometimes don't match up to the actions that we take, or the actions that certain privacy laws have, right? And I think it hasn't caught up yet. So,
Yeah, and I think that the difficulty of entrusting lawmakers to fully understand how to make because they get it wrong all the time, is how to enforce but not go too far to where now we're stifling industry and innovation.
So I guess a bigger question would be, and this is maybe to you guys, something that we can always bring back is, do we really have rights? As a society, I think we infringe upon those so many times that and that could be something totally different, right? But because we're talking about drones and privacy, then we start talking. We're inside a system, right? You can call it the matrix or what have you, but we're inside a system where I think we're governed by laws. Mm-hmm. And in order to be part of that system, you have to abide by those laws. Mm-hmm. And in many cases, you know, human nature goes outside of that. We bend those laws, and we try to redefine laws. But a lot of the times, I mean, you ask the question, I mean, do we have laws? Do we have rights?
Yeah.
And sometimes these privacy rights come into play because, I mean, like you said, it's like, well, look at where technology is at. I don't know that I have rights there. But again, I don't know. Any ending comments?
Closing remarks.
Oh, when you said
Please.
rights, I had a friend who was in the military, and they were a military police officer, and we were getting the question about rights, what rights the soldiers have. And he said they have any rights that I'm willing to give them because they're government issue. And I was like, that was interesting because I kind of see that mentality going more than just in the military.
Yeah.
And the term you said, you know, people don't see that, but government issued.
Yeah.
And if you define what that is, you belong to the government when you sign up and you sign that contract.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, and that's a whole different story.
It
But
is.
anyhow,
Yeah.
today, we want to thank Aaron for coming out and
Welcome.
really giving us some insight of what the drones and
Plug
privacy.
up.
Yes, and as a avid drone enthusiast, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, and what would you say, give people out there if they're wanting to start with the drone? What would be maybe a good model that they can utilize, and how would they go about experiencing that drone flight?
Start small. Start with an inexpensive one. See if you like it, and then go from there.
There you have it.
There you go.
Roy, any last comments before we wrap this up?
And no, in closing, my drone doesn't identify as a drone; it's a bat, so
There you go.
it's void of any laws. So.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead and thank you